Another consideration in design is memory, right? So not everyone has a very extensive memory, and memory helps some memory cues, if you like, or certain devices that help the user remember where they are, remember the links that they have visited, remember which part of the website they have visited. This is useful. So, for instance, menu bars are there, right, to allow ease of navigation. Right? You can't expect the user to remember exactly the URL of the different pages of the website. So, where am I? Where have I been? And so on. Right? And we have this notion of breadcrumbs, which shows the path from the home page down to the current page. Another interesting idea to help humans understand your website is the idea of a mental model. Right? So a mental model is basically a metaphor or a representation of something, often is visual, that helps the user navigate or comprehend what's going on in the website. So if you think about Windows, right, Microsoft Windows, which is analogous to the windows of a house, and you think about the shopping cart, right? So we have the physical shopping cart, and then when we look at the online shopping cart, we know immediately what the shopping cart is for, what that feature is for, because we know what a physical shopping cart does. Design consistency is important. So with different web pages of the same site, for example, if you browse the Latrobe web pages, all the different pages have a similar look and feel. There's consistency. And another type of consistency is consistency with the real world. For instance, if you do use a metaphor such as a shopping cart, it should function like a shopping cart. It should contain a list of selected products that you want to buy. And when you click on the checkout button, you expect to check out. You expect to be given the page for making payments and to actually check out. Right? So an inconsistent design would be that if you have a button called checkout, when once you click on the checkout, it goes to the home page. Right? Instead of actually allowing the user to check out, it goes to the home page, for instance, which is counterintuitive. And if you have a sitemap and you have a button on the web page that goes to the sitemap, it should go to the sitemap. The user's knowledge and experience is also important. I won't go into details here, but you can see the different aspects of the user which need to be taken into account when you're designing the website. For instance, if you're designing a website for children, for young children, you do not want to use very sophisticated words or very difficult words compared to designing a website for an adult, for instance. The language of choice, right? Do you have a multilingual audience, for instance? And how experienced are they in using computers, right? So that's another consideration. So understanding the user's tasks and jobs, what they need to do through the website is important. And in the next video, we will talk about user tasks and subtasks as well. Some of the aspects of tasks that we need to understand, for instance, how frequent certain tasks are done. So perhaps these frequently used, frequently supported tasks through the website should be more prominent or should be a lot more easily accessible. Right? How important tasks are. So the important tasks should be a lot more accessible on a website than less important tasks, for instance. And we'll talk a bit more about how you might structure the website to reflect task structure. So if you think about the eBay website, it has a buy and sell, which corresponds to two main tasks that you might do through the eBay website. And the website might be structured according to different types of users. Right? So for instance, university websites are used by students, current students, and new students, current staff and prospective staff, for instance, right? So, and there are links for different types of audience categories. Psychological characteristics might be considered attitude, motivation, cognitive style, and these might influence your web design, right? So, for instance, how complex do you make a website? To do more difficult tasks, do you have something in your website that makes it a lot easier to do more complex tasks, for instance? Do you have shortcuts and so on? Physical characteristics are important, especially now that you might want to design websites for greater accessibility. For instance, someone who's colorblind, right? And that would influence your choice of colors. If you're building a website for the colorblind users, you will need to take into account very carefully the colors, that type of color blindness that they have, and what colors that you will need to have on your website. Age is another, right? So someone who is more elderly might find it difficult to perform certain user interface actions, right? They might have less dexterity. Double clicking or triple clicking might be difficult, for instance. Font size is another consideration. So if you're building the website for the elderly, perhaps we should use a larger font size, for instance. The W3 website, W3C website, or the Worldwide Consortium website, W3C website has standards that help designers build websites to cater for different types of physical characteristics. There are a number of methods that we might use, right, in order to understand more about the users. The main point here is that when we design the website, we need to keep in mind who the users are. Are they kids? Are they elderly people? Or a more general audience? Are they colorblind? And so on. Right? We just need to think about the users, think about the clients, who we are building the website for, who the users of the website will be. Here's a list of things we might do. We might observe users, talk to the users, videotape users as they as they do things, learn about the organization where the system will be installed, and so on. All right. So we have briefly discussed different aspects of the user that we will need to think about when designing the website. The main message of this video is that think about the users when we design the website.